Hello friends, my name is Troy, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be doing my September wrap-up, which was the best reading month that I've ever had by far, so stay tuned. So this month I was able to read 16 books. I have not read that probably ever in my life in 1 month. That is crazy. And if let's say my average was about 400 pages per book, that's 6,400 pages, which is just insane. I read so many books. Most of them were audiobooks, but I also read a few physical books too, but I just was into it. I was really just trying to get through as many books as I could this month, and it was perfect. I loved it so much. I loved the whole experience, and I cannot wait to share with you. So yeah, today I'm going to be just wrapping up all the reading that I did. We'll go over the books that I've read most recently to the books that I've read last recently. That's just a preference, but also one special announcement. This is technically my 100th booktube video, which is crazy, and I want to do like a whole celebratory / Q&A video next video to celebrate 100 booktube videos. Yeah, it's gonna be super fun. I don't want to waste any time though, so make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to my channel down below, and also yeah, leave a comment with what you have been reading this month. Let's just get started right into the first book, or the latest book that I've read. Alright, so the latest book that I've read, or technically I'm still finishing it, but I'm gonna be able to finish it by the month ends, is Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. And if you guys haven't already known, I read like 2 books by Adam Silvera in the last few months, so I wanted to try another Adam Silvera book, and the only difference with this book is that it was a fantasy. I've read 2 contemporary romances from him, but I haven't read any fantasy from him, so I think this was his first fantasy book, and I could kind of sense that, honestly, because I didn't really like the fantasy aspect of this book. But first I'll kind of just explain this book, and it honestly makes more sense with the summary that professionals wrote, so I'm just gonna read that too. But basically this book is about 2 boys named Emil and Brighton. They're in this world where they're the spellwalkers and other celestials with powers and magical creatures, and the bloodwalkers. And then we have 2 brothers named Brighton and Emil, and so Brighton wishes he had a power so he could join the fray, and Emil just wants the fighting to stop because there's this cycle of violence. And basically it's really cool seeing the 2 brothers. But basically what happens one day, Emil develops powers when he's in this really weird, strange kind of fight that he kind of got himself into, and he just kind of erupts into flame, and so he's suddenly thrust into this world of magic. And it's just crazy just seeing how the modern world that we were living in is turned into this fantasy world. I just feel like Adam Silvera did a great job with that, although I'll just say I probably didn't really care for the fantasy that much. I think Adam Silvera is a really good contemporary writer, and that's why his fantasy wasn't as the characters and the plot. He's really good at doing that, and the dialogue, and especially the characters. He's really good at characters and building them up to be real. But just the fantasy, I just didn't really care for it. It was confusing, and it didn't even seem like fantasy. It seemed more kind of a Renegades kind of fantasy-ish, by Marissa Meyer, and it kind of seemed more as sci-fi-ish, and I just didn't really like that as much. I mean, it's really good writing, and I did love those points with the characters and the real emotion between them. But it kind of makes me appreciate Adam Silvera more, especially because it was so crazy just seeing the 2 characters, Brighton and Emil. They had opposite visions, and there's plot twists around them, of course, but just them in general. And I mean, Brighton, I could just relate to him so a lot because he was a YouTuber, and he was trying to capture everything on video that was going on, and try to grow his audience. He just kept talking about his social media and stuff. That's kind of just a funny character. And then we also have Emil, who's I don't want these powers, but I got these powers, but the other guy wants the power. So it was just a really fun kind of clash of fantasy and sci-fi and contemporary all into one. And overall I enjoyed it. It still was a 3.5 star out of 5. It just wasn't anything special, if that makes sense. Alright, next up we have got Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. I was gonna make a whole video reviewing this, but I just have way too many videos to get to because my thoughts aren't that different from the first time I read it. But I feel I appreciate it a little bit more than the first time I read it. It's just I never really got attached to the story. It's just it's cool and all. I think it's a fun another discover I have magical association with me. Basically Percy Jackson is in this boarding school. He's about to get kicked out. He's failing out of school. He has dyslexia, and he has kind of trouble learning and stuff. And he finds out that basically all these Greek mythology, and this mythology in the Greekness thing is alive, and basically there's gods in the earth, there's monsters going after Percy, and he finds out that he is a half-blood, and that he was born from a god and a mortal, and then like he has to find out who his parents are, and then they go on this quest. Like it's an interesting book, and I did like it a lot more than the first time I read it. Still, it just never really got to me. I liked the plot, I just feel like I didn't like the characters that much. Like I never really liked Percy. Annabeth was a good character. A lot of the stuff was predictable. I just feel like there's like an even amount of like cons and pros, so this is just like a 3.5 or 4-star book for me. Again, I know a lot of people like it, but like it's just kind of average. But yeah, like I said, I do like the plot. I thought it was like moving very, very quickly, although I feel like the beginning took too long. Like we had 150 pages of kind of like development, going to this like new camp, Half-Blood, where all like the Half-Bloods are, and learning about the Greek mythology, and then the second half is like, you know, delving into the quest, where what I would like write a story as, I would have 50 pages of exposition and like learning and all that stuff, and then I would dive into the quest like around page 50, and then can I have like a 25-page resolution. Like I want most of the book to be the quest. Like that's what I'm looking for in a book, because I like the middle part of it, but I just felt like the beginning was a little bit too long. So. All right, now we are going on to the favorite of the month, because it was amazing 5-star, like my favorite of the month. So yeah, that's saying a lot, and this is one that I will like totally recommend that you guys read. Is One of Us is Lying. I don't know what the author is, but like it should show up on the book right there if you want to check it out, and I'll have a link in the description to the Goodreads of it. But One of Us is Lying is amazing. I veered off my TBR for this because I just really was excited about it. It's basically a murder mystery. We follow these 4 high school students as they go into detention one day. Some weird stuff happens while they're in detention. Basically, they got into detention by being framed for having phones in their backpack that weren't theirs, so they got being caught on their phones, and then they had to go to detention. And then also what happens during detention was very weird. There's a fender bender, like a car accident that happens outside, and then the teacher basically like runs away to go fix that. But then what happens when he comes back is one of the kids named Simon, which was not one of the 4 main perspectives, he starts dying because of an allergy, and he basically collapses on the floor, and they can't get enough medical attention to him quick enough, so you know that's kind of it. But over the next few weeks an investigation starts where basically we find out that you know, the water that Simon was drinking before he died because of allergies was laced with peanut oil, and so now we think that one of the 4 main perspectives of the 4 people in the detention were killing Simon. And so this basically takes place with this huge investigation, and like this whole TV series was actually made about them, who was like the murderer. Like there's the 4 suspects, and I actually guessed the whole like plot twist and like murder at the end. I'm not gonna say anything, but like I just totally predicted, like from the beginning I was like texting my friend Joey, and basically I was like, okay, what if this happened? And then I found out at the end that I was exactly right. But then it just got so crazy seeing like the plot twist and the new evidence and the suspects and how they were reacting to it. I really recommend you guys pick it up, because it was like the most weirdest, fun, and just fast-paced read. I read this 10-hour audiobook in like 1.5 days, so I was just basically reading it like every second I could. It was so good. Even on the premiere I was chatting with you guys, I was like, you definitely should read it because it's just amazing. The characters were really fun. The characters were so diverse, and like secrets that each one had, because each suspect has a secret that Simon was going to expose, which makes them suspects. So I think it was so great, and I think that every single one of you would enjoy it, you know, unless you're like triggered by murder and stuff like that. So yeah, I highly recommend you guys check that out. Ooh, what was that? I highly recommend you guys check that out because it's just amazing. So yeah, let's get on to the next book. Alright, so the next book is Wayward Sun, which is the sequel to Carry On. So I'm gonna just talk about both books, I guess, in one go, like Carry On and Wayward Sun. I veered off my TBR to read the second book because I didn't even know that there was a second book. So yeah, anyways, Wayward Sun was a really, really fun book. It was basically a spin-off of like Harry Potter, but with like monsters and like ghosts, and like also has a lot of like LGBTQ plus rep in it. So rep in it. So it was really, really fun. I don't even know how to explain it, so I'll just kind of pull up the summary because it was just so like interesting. So Simon Snow's the worst chosen one who's ever been chosen. So yeah, we're set with this character who's the chosen one. He's like this ultimate mage. That's what his roommate Baz says. And Baz might be evil and a vampire and a complete jit, but he's completely right. Simon can't even make his wand work. His girlfriend breaks up with him. His mentor is avoiding him. And there's a magic eating monster, you know, running around wearing Simon's face. And then basically what happens is this year when Simon goes to this magical school, kind of like Hogwarts, basically what happens is his evil like arch nemesis that lives with him and like is his roommate is Baz, he doesn't even show up. And so like he's looking for him, and then something happens and it's crazy, and then they're like investigating this murder, and then there's this monster that's like just crazily like creating like magical dead spots in the country, and it's just so fun. Like once Baz gets there, and like once like kind of the romantical tension between Simon and Baz creates, the love side to it, the plot side to it, like the magic side to it, all was really cool. And also just like the world building and the info dumps, like I just loved learning more about the world. I'll also talk about the second book now, which was Wayward Sun, and this was even better. I mean, well, not even better, but I actually had a lot more fun with this, probably because it was basically just a sequel that wasn't really necessary, but I still enjoyed it. It was like a road trip. It's basically happening like a few years after the events of Wayward Sun, and we have like all the characters kind of in a drowsy mood, so like trying to liven up their spirits and go on a road trip across America, because they were living in Britain. And so they're going into America, which has a lot new magical properties and magical laws, and like new vampire subdivision groups and like weird organizations that are going around, and they're trying to save their friend. It was so cool, and seeing more of the characters developing and the relationships changing and strengthening, new characters being introduced, and just the plot, it was really smooth and quick. And I don't really have much complications with the book. I mean, I remember one time thinking like this book is totally unnecessary, but at the end I'm like, okay, this is great, and where's the next book, you know, because there's another book coming out soon, which is gonna be cool. So yeah, I really both enjoyed Wayward Sun and Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, and I definitely recommend you check her writing out, because the audiobooks were really good, and just her writing is really good. I don't know, that's all I have to say. So yeah, next up we've got yet another audiobook. I've read a lot of audiobooks this month. The Next Chapter Book Club is pick of the month, Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, and this is, like I said again, the Next Chapter Book Club's pick of September. I picked out next month's pick, and I'll share with you guys about that, but we were reading this month, and I hope some of you guys picked it up as well to talk about it on our live show over on Sook Group and Books channel. We're gonna do that on October 4th at 3 p.m. I think. I don't quite remember, but yeah, I'll get you guys more information when we get closer to being live. This book was really good. It was basically about these two girls who were the daughter of this one man who was on a plane crash, and it was very sad. But the whole interesting concept about this book was that basically the dad was living in two sides of the world. He had two families. He had one in the United States and one in the country that the other girl was living in. I'm so bad at remembering things, but basically they don't even know about each other until now. And so now, you know, this one girl, Kamina, realizes that she has a sister, and it's crazy just to see how like we have both perspectives from both girls, and how they meet each other, and like they find out about each other through this grief, like exploring grief. Like just like it was so really cool to see like the poeticness, because this book was written in verse, to see like the verse like kind of, you know, go through the like grief. I feel like it was so much better just being written in verse, because like the author was able to make it so poetic, and just like going over words, repeating things, having just like the cool like lyrical vibe. And it was just, it made it a lot beautiful to see like how like they were all navigating their own grief, because you know, like each character reacted different, even like the moms and like the parents and all that stuff, and just seeing like the determination for the two girls to meet each other and see what happens. And then also just like really important themes like, I guess, sexual abuse, like stuff like that was present in this story, and just seeing how that was explored, and like all these really good themes and like messages were just in this book. I loved it all. Amazing book. And if you guys want to read it, I totally recommend you guys should, and we'll be talking about this on Sook Group's channel again. So yeah, that's it. Adios, on to the next one. Alright, yay, finally a physical book. We've got Again But Better by Christine Riccio. And this is my second time reading it. I read it first at the start of 2020 when I was starting my booktube channel. Yeah, I was like, I read this like barely even 7 months ago, which is not that long of a time. And I'll leave that whole vlog of me like launching my booktube channel. I got super emotional, and then I got like sick from overworking myself. It was just a crazy vlog of reading that book. So I'll definitely leave that up there for you guys if I remember. But yeah, this was an amazing book, and like that's why I said I have to read this like 2 times per year, mandatory, because this is an amazing like romance, contemporary, just powerful messages all throughout this book. And Christine Riccio is just an amazing person. I love her writing, and it just really like her personality just kind of shines through with this book, and I just love her personality, so I naturally love this book. But this is basically about a girl named Shane who is in college, and she's just unhappy with her life, and you know, she just chooses to kind of like redo it. So basically she creates this fake pre-med program to her parents, and she actually goes to London and explores the creative or writing track, which is what she truly is passionate about. She has a whole list of things that she wants to accomplish, and which includes getting a boyfriend, and the love interest in this book is called Pilot, which is a strange name, but still, it was fun to see how that went, but yeah, she's basically trying to do college over again, and this book was so good. As always, the characters were so funny, relatable, diverse, great. I love the characters. The setting, which is like in London, was really cool to explore, and then like every weekend or every other weekend they would go to like a place in Europe, like they would fly out to Italy or they would fly out to Paris, and they would have like all these different travels and like trips, and it was really cool to explore those and see like how those affected like the group's relationship. A great like love interest, like kind of like a great like romance between Pilot and Shane. Like it was very interesting just to see their course of growth throughout the book, because their romance and their relationship like took so many crazy turns throughout the book. It was crazy, like just to follow what was going on. And lastly, just like the powerful messages, like, and just like kind of like, I don't know, it's just like so powerful to read, because all throughout the book you're getting reminded to do what you love, you know, to do what you're passionate about, and to never really let people bring you down from that. And I just think like through her, I guess, like abusive parents, like, you know, not allowing her to live her life how she wants to, and like just kind of that stuff like really brings that point home. Like, you know, you should do what you want to, you don't really have to necessarily follow your parents, and like, you know, you can totally defy them, like stand up for yourself, be confident, and do what you love. I love it. I love this book. I love this so much, and I know that like not a lot of people do, which is sad, but like I just think it hits me in a different way, if that makes sense, because I relate to so much about this book. Oopsie doops, I kicked my camera. But next up we have got Redwall by Brian Jacques, and this is a really great book. I read this in my weekend reading vlog. If you want to check that out, I'll leave that up there again if I remember, but yeah, because like sometimes I forget to put in the cards. But basically what happens in this book is that there is this Redwall Abbey, which is basically like a home to all the woodland creatures, all the peaceful woodland creatures. They're having their feast, they're having their fun, they're all doing really great. I also want to increase my exposure here, because why not? Now I'm bright and fun. Yeah, okay. But yeah, we are following all like these peaceful woodland creatures, but basically what happens is there is this evil man rat named Cluny who is coming, and he's Cluny the Scrooge, and he has this whole battle like arrangement with all the rats and stuff, and they're coming to attack the Redwall Abbey. And so basically what happens, I say basically so much, but basically what happens is, yeah, there's like this whole battle between Redwall and Abbey, and then there's this whole mystery between Martin the Warrior, which is a key figure in this series, and we have Matthias, who kind of comes into play and like has to like go on a quest from Matthias's legacy and like retrieve his sword. And then meanwhile there's all these crazy plots going on with like betrayal and backstabbing, and it's just a really fun like battle between the two. Again, just like the subplots and all the different perspectives, because we went across like so many different perspectives of so many different people, and we just got to get like the whole story captured in different ways. It really tied together well, and I want to read more books in the series. Okay, I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, that's my opinion on this book. Anyways, next up we have got Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I also read this in the weekend reading vlog that I was talking about the other time, so I'm not gonna talk about this for too long, but basically this is a romance between Chloe Brown and Redford Morgan. Basically Chloe Brown is a chronically ill computer geek who, wow, I feel like I'm spouting off like this really great summary. Anyways, I just ended it. But yeah, she's a chronically ill computer geek who is trying to live her life better. She's trying to get a life, and she has a whole list to help her do that, which includes 7 different items, from like getting a boyfriend and like going to travel the world and like going camping and like enjoy a drunken night out, like all that kind of fun stuff. She has this perfect boy in mind basically to help her do all this stuff, and his name is Redford Morgan. Basically they just have this like really interesting relationship between them, and I think it was really cool to explore as they like got closer together, and then like some kind of key parts kind of like move them apart and move them together. Like I guess like it's kind of like a chess game or something. Like some of their like stuff that happens to the relationship like moves them together, some stuff like angered them and moved them apart, and just like seeing like how like they transformed over time, and like the ending was really crazy, and just like it was just like a good romance. I mean, it wasn't like, and I keep saying good because it wasn't like amazing. It was like fun, it was like cool to see, but like I just wasn't really attached to it. Like, I mean, I guess it was like good, but like yeah, it just wasn't really anything special. Like I would probably say like maybe like a 4 out of 5 stars, because it's just not like something I thoroughly enjoy. Like there's definitely better audiobooks that I read this month. Yeah, I don't really have any other notes besides that, so I'm just gonna kind of get into the next one, which is The Land of Roar, which was a really good. It was 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was a really short and sweet middle grade book all about dragons and imagination and childhood games. It was amazing. It was pure fun to experience. So yeah, let's talk about it. This story is basically about this boy named, this boy named something, this girl named Rose. The boy is kind of like getting, just this dissatisfied and upset because his sister is kind of growing apart from him. They used to play all these fun games, especially this one game called Roar. Really weird thing happens in their house when they go to their grandparents' house. The scene to this magical world that they used to play in called Roar, which they thought that was in their imagination, but they literally were in Roar, opens back up, and this evil villain that is a scarecrow kind of like comes and takes their grandfather. And so Rose and the boy basically go into this world, and they just have to like rescue their grandpa basically. And it's just so cool to like explore this kind of like this almost like childhood fantasy like world, and it just screams like childhood, like nostalgia, all that fun stuff. So I just really enjoyed it, and like just some of the powerful like messages and like the imagination of this all was super cool. Like as they were growing apart from Roar and forgetting it, like there's like cracks opening up in the world, and then like other worlds were like opening up too. It was just so cool. I don't want to say much more than that. It was so cool just experiencing all the new characters, and like the relationship between Rose and her sister, or Rose and her brother, like the relationship between them was really cool. I just loved exploring the magic and the fantasy, and I totally recommend you guys read this if you're a fan of middle grade, because I think it was amazing and you should read it because it's just a short and sweet, lovely book. We have 6 more books. Oh my gosh, almost done, but still so far away. This video has taken me so long to film. Anyways, let's get that done. Alrighty, let's speed through these last few. So the next one we got is The Tale of Despero by Kate DiCamillo, and this is a childhood favorite. Like, I seriously love this book so much. Like, I started reading this in 5th grade, and I've been, just reading it like every other year or every year since then. So basically, this is basically just like this fun, middle grade child story about this mouse whose name's Despero, and he's kind of like weird. He's like not like the other mouses, and basically we follow his journey on a quest to save the princess, which is not something a normal mouse would be doing. Also follow this rat named Roscuro, who something traumatic happens to him where he turns evil and he has to, do something to take the princess. And then there's this slave girl who gets also wrapped into this, and we follow her, and it's just like this fun story of these 3 perspectives and how they come together to make this like really, funny, unique story. I just love this, and I totally recommend if you need like a good light warming, like story. It just kind of has like really good writing. Like this author is really good at writing. I can just already tell because she's just able to like wrap in so many good like perspectives and like so many good like side remarks, and she's able to talk to the reader directly, which is not something that a lot of authors do. Like she'll say like, and dear reader, do you know what this word means? Maybe think it. Or like she'll just talk to you as the reader, and she'll like incorporate these awesome like different like paths and plots, and I don't know, I just think it's so cool. So yeah, definitely recommend. But the next book that we're going to go over is The Explorer by Catherine Rundell, which is another physical book that I read. It's like a short 300-ish 50-page book, and it's a survival book taking place in the Amazon River. It's not like the best survival book that I've read, but it was definitely interesting reading it in a new setting because I've never read it. A survival in the Amazon jungle, and basically this is a story all about another plane crash with 4 victims that are kids, and the cliche like the 4 kids are only the ones who are alive and there's no adults, and basically they have to navigate the Amazon jungle. They meet explorers, and they like, it's not just survival, like they're exploring and like they're learning new things, and like they're discovering, like that's what I really liked about this book. Because it's not called like the survivors, the explorer, like we're actually actively being in this world, and we're exploring it, and I just thought it was super cool, like the new food, the new animals, just the new like plot points and obstacles, and the characters were not that great, but just the plot and the setting was like really kind of up a notch. But like I started to fall in love with the characters in the middle. I mean, I would love to fall in love with the characters in the beginning, but that just didn't happen. So that's like my overall thoughts. I think it's like a 4.5 star book. I just, if the characters were a little bit funner, I would enjoy them more. Next up, we've got Artemis Fowl by Eowyn Colfer, or I think it's just called Owen Colfer, but I didn't really like this book that much. I probably wouldn't even rate it 3 stars. I have it set for 3.5 stars. I'd probably bring it down to 3 stars. Like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. It felt too sci-fi to me. It's basically about this boy named Artemis Fowl, who's this super genius, which we don't really even know why. It starts in New Beijing or something, or not New Beijing, but just Beijing, and he like gets like this weird like fairy magic, and then he like discovers the ancient fairies, and he kidnaps a fairy, and then there's like this huge technological battle between Artemis Fowl and his butler and the fairies, and I don't know, it was just kind of weird. The whole thing was screamed like sci-fi to me, and like all these like intergalactic weapons and like crazy technology. Like I was thinking it would be much more magic related because it's a fairy, it's like magic, but like then we just had this huge war with like sci-fi stuff. And I mean, even though there was like some cool like fairy policies and like some even different creatures there too, I just think overall like I didn't like Artemis Fowl. I didn't like following a villain. I always love following like the good guys. I don't know why the fairy that was kidnapped started to feel empathy for the boy. Like that was just weird to me. I talk about it more in some of my other videos if you want to check those out, but like overall just not too impressed by the book. I don't know why it gets so much hype, and yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. Like that's not something I would recommend. And next up we've got The Ruins of Goreland by John Flanagan, and this was actually a lot better than Artemis Fowl. This is an epic fantasy taking place with this boy named Will, who finds out like in the year of the choosing, where he goes to his like advanced life job goal thingy thing. He basically finds out he was requested to be the Ranger's apprentice, and which is like a secret kind of like sneaky group that is like basically protecting the kingdom, even though a lot of the people don't know it because a lot of the Rangers are feared. But yeah, he gets accepted into like this interesting society, and he trains with his Ranger's apprentice. But basically what's happening is there's this evil villain named Morgorath who is trying to launch an attack, and basically they have to defend it and kind of warn the kingdom. So yeah, it's just really interesting just seeing like the whole like warship. And then we also follow this boy named Horace as he goes through battle school and his experiences there, which kind of tie together with Will. So it was just overall really fun to read from, and I think that if you guys want like a fun like epic fantasy, and it's also like a really long series, 12 books long, so if you're looking for like a good long series epic fantasy, I would definitely recommend that. And I'm going to read the next few books next month. I already have one of them. I'm 7% through the next one, but I won't be able to finish it this month, so I'm going to be getting to some more of those books of the Ranger's Apprentice series next month. Although I don't think, or I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish all of the books in the series because I don't know how good it's gonna keep going to be, but we'll see. Alrighty, I'm estimating that my camera is gonna probably die in like 5 to 10 minutes, so I really have to kind of hurry up with this. But my next book is Fablehaven by Brandon Mull, and this is yet again another really good middle grade. I actually read quite a lot of middle grade in this month. But yeah, I love Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. It was really, really fun to experience, and I would just say this book is basically about this boy named Seth and this girl named Kendra, I believe. And yeah, Seth and Kendra, and they go to this mansion where their grandparents live because their parents are going on a cruise, and what ends up happening is Seth and Kendra discover these like magical creatures that are in this world called Fablehaven, and they start like just exploring the property around the mansion. They discovered all these secrets, and then somehow everything gets revealed to them. But then there's this like kind of big incident that basically spirals the whole community and the people living at the mansion, and everything happens, and then like they're the only people left on the property, and they have to kind of rescue everyone, and then they have to like get the assistance of like magical creatures and trolls and like rescue this like magical curse. It was so cool. I just love this from the beginning, from the end, just discovering all these like magical like puzzles and like figuring everything out. I just thought it was so cool, and like the magical creatures themselves and like the property. I'm already falling in love with this series. I want to continue the series, and I'm excited because, you know, we get to learn more about like the organizations that are kind of like against these populations and stuff. And yeah, I'm excited to keep going and like learn more about all these magical creatures. All right, quickly, the last book that I read this month is Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, or not the last book, the first book that I read this month. And basically are set with this guy named Simon, who is a closeted gay teen, and he's messaging this boy named Blue, who he found on like this Tumblr site, and he's like emailing him about like their sexuality, and they're kind of starting to fall in love even a little bit. But one day this kid in school finds out about their emails and basically screenshots them and says that he is going to blackmail him, or not like implicitly says that, but he's going to blackmail Simon to like hook him up with one of his friends that he really likes, Abby, and he has to help him or else his whole screenshots and like his, you know, sexuality stuff is going to be outed into the school because he's going to post it everywhere. It's really funny and just like a cool story. And then like what ends up happening is there's a lot of like tension. He's trying to figure out who Blue is, and like what ends up happening is when he finds out who Blue is, they have a little romance at the end. It's so cute, and it's just like a fun story, like exploring his like sexuality and stuff, and it's just like a fun romance. I really enjoyed it. The characters were really cool and like funny and relatable, and the plot was really like moving, and like all the little plot twists and stuff. I really enjoyed all of it. I think it's something that definitely worth a read, and I think it's like one of those LGBTQ plus reads that are classic but really good. And I especially liked the what's it called, the movie to it. It was so great to like relive the experiences with the movie. I watched it after the book, and I think the movie was better, but it kind of bring up the book rating too, because now I can just visualize everything that happened, and I just thought it was just such a cute thing, and it's just such a cute story. I wish we could have more of the romance with Blue at the end, but yeah, it was just a really fun book and like a little kind of bit of a mystery. But yeah, I really have to end this video because I don't want my camera to die. So yeah, quick outro, but this was such a fun video to film. It was a really long video. I don't have a lot of footage to edit tomorrow, but it was really worth it to be able to just talk to you about all the books that I read this month. And again, this was by far one of my favorite reading months, especially because I am now like reading a lot of audiobooks. Like I was celebrating over the first like audiobook that I read, and then I started like listening to 2 per month. I listened to like 10 or like 11 audiobooks this month, which is just crazy. And I'm loving reading lately, and I'm being so excited, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about what I plan to read next month. I have that TBR video coming soon. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching and discussing these books with me. Make sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and make sure to comment down below with like what books you read this month, because I'd love to discuss with you and see if like you read any of the books that I've read or like that I'm planning to read, and like just did you enjoy them. Like maybe you can put like how much stars besides each of them, which would be really cool. And also make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want more bookish content. I have a lot of fun stuff prepared. Yeah, also make sure to hit the notification bell. I will leave the last video up there for you guys if you want to watch that. It was my flip the page book challenge. It was the funnest video ever. You guys received it so well and were like staying with me there the whole premiere, because it's just so fun to see this whole new identity that you guys created with your random book coordinates. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Happy reading, and yeah, you guys are the best. Love you so much. Bye. Happy reading.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her. There must be something bad.